Hi, I'm Sarah Kincaid, and I'm here today to speak to you about my ARI grant that I earned and won. And it's entitled, let me get there. Virtual is now reality, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. With that, so let me get all my stuff up here. Okay, virtual is now reality. Now, what I saw here was a problem that we were having in class. And I noticed it on one of the first days of school, we were doing a getting to know you activity. And one of my students, one of the get to know you activities was like something about traveling and where you've been on vacation or whatever else. And so this one student said, well, I don't know about travel or vacation. And I was like, what do you mean? And he said, I've never left the state. And I was like, what? I was just, before I even knew what I was saying, I was like, spoke, and I couldn't, take it back. But he had volunteered that information to the class. And I said, you've never left the state? He's like, no, I've never left the state. I've never gone on vacation. I've never done anything. And I said, I just don't believe you've not left the state because where my school is situated, Belfry High School, we are 1 mile from the West Virginia border. And so I proceeded to ask him, I said, you've not been like down the road and across that bridge into West Virginia. And he said, no, not that I can remember. And afterwards, I was able to sort of ponder on that. And it really shocked me because what he said was this: I never have had any reason to go there. And for me, travel, you don't have to have a reason to go to travel. And so I have been everywhere. I've been all over most of the East Coast. I've been to Canada and Mexico and all these different places in the Caribbean. I've been to all kinds of states. I've seen all kinds of national parks and all these things. And so to me, that seems so very foreign. But when I began to realize is that he was not alone. I've had very few students. They may have left the state, but they've only gone as far as Williamson, West Virginia, which is, like I said, 1 mile away. So I recognize that travel is a problem and experiencing um, things for my students is very important. The other problem I recognize is that funding. Funding, it is expensive to travel. Now, if I was going to travel by myself, it's not that bad, but when you start getting school buses and students and tickets and all of these things, it's very expensive. And if a student hasn't left the state up until this point, made it all the way to high school without leaving the state, then funding on their personal part is probably very low. And then getting funding from the school or other resources, that just is sometimes difficult and always not available. And then now living in the world that we know of as the world of pandemic of COVID, there are so many travel restrictions, and it's just not feasible really to travel anymore. So I began researching and the benefits and the good things of ARI grants, as I have other colleagues who have done grants in the past, or I've gone to the summits and learned information from other regional colleagues. And that's where I looked into virtual can be reality. And what I saw was a way to fix this problem is to get some DSCVR virtual reality goggles. And as you can see here in the picture, they are, you mount your cell phone in there, and it's compatible with both Android and Apple iOS. Both of those work together. So Apple, Samsung, or everything in between works with these adaptable uh, VR glasses, VR goggles. And what I thought was good about this version as well is it doesn't fit over your head. There's no gearing or rigging. It's not heavy. You can easily remove it from your face, and it also makes for a better sterile surface that can easily be wiped down very quickly. Now, the reason why I wanted to do these VR goggles is simply because of what I began to look into, free things like Discovery Education and things like that. There's so many pictures and places all over the world, and almost every website now has something that you can go see in real time. I remember I showed my students several years ago Old Faithful erupting in Yellowstone National Park, and that's a place that I personally have been, and it is a pretty fascinating experience. But I have students who will never see that, and so I thought that the problem for me was they're not traveling, they're not seeing anything, they are being stuck and feeling even more confined as a result of COVID. But really, COVID had nothing to do with what was being, the restrictions that this student had on travel. It was simply he did not have the means to do that, to travel. And so I thought, well, what a better way than to learn the world and learn the map and learn where everything's located and culture and everything. I think that travel just goes right along with social studies. So having these VR goggles, I think, is what I want to do, is to eliminate that problem. My students will sit right here in my classroom, and we will go to all kinds of places and see all kinds of things. And now I have recognized that some students will not have smartphones, even though the majority of my students do. They do not have smartphones, but we have means to cover that, to share or work together, and to do different activities along with that. But we wanted to use the VR goggles, and that's what I think is going to be best. The good thing about this when I have, like I said, the pictures on the previous page, this brand that we are using, they only cost about $20 or $25 a piece. So I'm able to purchase an entire classroom set that my whole department, my whole social studies department, will be able to use. Now, if you see here, so you see the picture of them, and they, like I said, they're plastic, but it's a heavy duty plastic. It's got a big sort of rubber band here that's going to be on the face to hold it. But they are more cost effective, and they're not very expensive to replace. So that's the reason I went with that option. The next thing I'm getting with this grant is I'm going to be able to purchase an iPad, and the iPad allows you as the teacher to download different apps, and then the students will link into those, and they will just sign into them, and you can walk around the room, and you can sort of facilitate their travel and move them through a place or a location, and that gives it to just ease, so you're not just having to sit here as well. It also allows you to see what they're seeing without having to be in the VR goggles, and that may be a little difficult for you. But the plans for this is that, like I said, I sort of already touched on that. Plans for this is to simply buy the VR goggles and begin traveling with my students, doing it sort of as a fun thing at first, to just like, hey, we're taking this a little trip today, we're taking a field trip, and then being able to incorporate that into my classes is what I'm looking to. And really the main thing is I want to give the world to my students who feel like their world is so small and they're so confined financially, geographically, emotionally, as where they are, but they can go and see all these amazing wonders of creation that I have seen, and that we can all travel together and see things that I haven't experienced, and we can have those experiences together. So that is my goal for this year. We have yet to order our goggles. They are coming up here soon, and just going on some major adventures.